Integrity, are we go for secondary wastewater line dump?
Integrity, you are go for secondary line dumps.
We copy, thank you.
Integrity Houston, for the burn, SM prop helium isol valves are configured.
Okay, we see closed, open, and that's what we were expecting. Thanks for the confirmation.
This is Mission Control, Houston. Flight Director Rick Henfling here in Mission Control. The entry flight director is going to be polling his team of flight controllers to get a go for the RTC-3 burn, which is coming up in just 31 minutes. We're back inside the cabin of Integrity, looking at Jeremy Hansen on the left, Christina Cook in the middle, Victor Glover on the right. The crew, and there's Reed Wiseman, the commander of the ship. Everything is in great shape as we await splashdown 5 hours and 44 minutes from now. The entry profile for Integrity is a source of great interest because of some of the heat shield damage that was unexpected during Artemis I. We have deliberately created a trajectory which is essentially a lofted entry profile rather than a skip entry. If you recall, the skip entry on Artemis I was a trajectory in which we performed an initial dip into the atmosphere to dissipate some energy, then skipped out of the atmosphere, sort of like throwing a flat rock against a lake, and then dipped a second and final time into the atmosphere before splashing down in the Pacific. However, that profile induced a longer entry range of some 3,178 nautical miles in length that induced a 20-minute duration of a higher total heat load on the vehicle. So after great analysis and the review of an independent review team, we decided to amend the entry profile to a maximum entry range of 1,775 nautical miles. In this case, we're going to be flying downrange from the point of entry interface to a splashdown zone just 1,701 nautical miles downrange, heading from southwest to northeast towards the coast of California. The 20-minute duration of the Artemis I entry has been reduced to just 13.5 minutes in duration for Artemis II, thus inducing a lower total heat load on the vehicle and mitigating any deleterious effects on the heat shield itself. The flight control team, the engineers, have tremendous confidence in this entry profile that will protect the heat shield from any excessive loads that may be imparted on it during this high-speed entry back into the Earth's atmosphere. Having said that, we still will be exposing the heat shield to temperatures some 4,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit as we enter peak heating at the point of entry interface and a communications blackout within a few minutes after that. Currently taking a poll in the room for a go for RTC-3. That'll be communicated to the crew momentarily.
Integrity Houston, good final targeting, and we are go for the burn pending SAW positioning.
We copy. Houston, go for the burn. Thank you.
And again, the burn that's coming up, RTC-3, just 27.5 minutes from now, will be an 8-second firing of the reaction control system thrusters to change the delta on the velocity to about 4.2 feet per second, and refining Integrity's path to reach entry interface at the correct angle and at the correct time and orientation. If you think of a cone across the Pacific Ocean, that's the entry corridor. We want to hit right into the middle of that corridor. I said yesterday it was like splitting the uprights, and that's exactly what it is. We want to make sure that we're right down the pike, heading toward the splashdown zone off the coast of San Diego. This burn and the subsequent crew module raise burn, that will be a final amendment to the angle of attack of Integrity, all designed to minimize heating effects on Integrity's heat shield. A short time ago, the Spaceflight Meteorology Group briefed the entry flight control team on the latest weather at the splashdown zone where the USS John P. Murtha is stationed, ready to begin recovery operations shortly after splashdown. The weather is ideal, not an issue in the terms of the winds, just 10-knot winds and wave heights less than 4 feet expected to greet the crew. There will be some broken and scattered clouds that Integrity will be descending through, but that's not a factor. We are committed, of course, to splashing down today at 7:07 and 7 seconds p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time, 2.5 hours before sunset. At this hour, Flight Dynamics reporting that Integrity is 45,534 nautical miles away from Earth, continuing to close in. Its velocity will be accelerating over the next several hours. At the point that we reach the top of the Earth's atmosphere at entry interface at an altitude of 400,000 feet, Integrity and its astronauts will be traveling some 34,882 feet per second with a range to splashdown of 1,701 nautical miles. That velocity will increase slightly to 34,965 feet per second, or 23,839 miles an hour at peak velocity. There will be a series of roll reversals. Those are computer-induced maneuvers that will occur after we complete the blackout period. Actually, there are 2 before, while we are in the blackout period, and 3 more afterwards. Those roll reversals designed to dissipate energy, reducing the speed through the laws of physics to bleed off excess energy as the vehicle points itself toward the splashdown zone prior to going subsonic and then inducing the beginning of the parachute deployment sequence. The crew is expected to pull just under 4 Gs during the maximum G loads on themselves and the vehicle. We have 3 spaceflight veterans and 1 first-time flyer in Jeremy Hansen. Unlike an International Space Station flight of 6 months or more in duration, these are well-skilled astronauts and test pilots. Christina Cook, of course, having returned to Earth, as did Reed Wiseman from his first flight in Soyuz vehicles for parachute-assisted landings in Kazakhstan. Victor Glover flew on a Crew Dragon vehicle. For those keeping track, once again, one of the key periods during the entry into the Earth's atmosphere will be this 6-minute communications blackout that is predicted and is typical.
Integrity. Tank pressures are good for the burn.
Copy that, Jackie. Thank you.
Capcom Jackie Mahaffey saying that all of the systems, including the pressures in the propellant tanks, are in good shape, ready for the RTC-3 burn coming up just 18 and a half minutes from now. Once again, the blackout period that will be of great interest to those listening and watching this evening is typical for any spacecraft re-entering the Earth's atmosphere because of the buildup of heat against a returning spacecraft, whether it's Integrity today or a Russian Soyuz vehicle or a SpaceX Dragon. These vehicles have heat shields that are designed to repel the heat. However, there is an ionization around the spacecraft, a buildup of plasma that is caused by the interaction of the velocity of the spacecraft entering the Earth's atmosphere and the friction of the Earth's atmosphere itself. This ionization period, or the blackout period, is expected to last 6 minutes tonight. It is expected to begin at 6:53 and 55 seconds p.m. Central Time, just 24 minutes or 24 seconds after the beginning of entry interface. That blackout of 6 minutes is the period of time where we will not be in communications with the crew or receiving data from Integrity itself as it barrels through the atmosphere. We will be communicating with the crew toward the end of that 6-minute period and reestablishing communications just as quickly as atmospheric physics will allow us to. The blackout period is expected to end at 6:59 and 56 seconds p.m. Central Time, which would be 6 minutes and 25 seconds from the start of entry interface. Now, after splashdown, several activities will be occurring. First will be to ensure that the vehicle is upright in what is known as a stable 1 configuration. Whether it's upright or in some other orientation, the CMOOS bags, the Crew Module Uprighting System bags, 5 of them that are surrounding the vehicle at the forward bay cover in a circumferential orientation. Those 5 large airbags will be inflated with helium and be inflated.
Integrity, Houston. Solar arrays are in position for the burn.
We see the same, Jackie.
The CMOOS bags, again, 5 large inflatable airbags that are inflated with helium right after splashdown. Those bags designed to maintain an upright orientation for the spacecraft. Flight controllers here in Mission Control will begin to work to power down the vehicle, also check for any leakage of toxic gas. We are not expecting any issues. Integrity's in great shape as it prepares for its homecoming 5.5 hours from now. But to ensure that the approaching Navy recovery team does not encounter any toxic gases, we will make the first check of that here in Mission Control, power down the vehicle, and we will be reestablishing communications with the crew through what is known as VLDR. You'll hear that call. It is the very low data rate that takes over from the tracking and data relay satellite system communications that we'll be using during the descent toward splashdown. It may be a period of seconds or even minutes before we establish that very low data rate with the crew following splashdown, so we'll keep a sharp ear out and obviously carry that on the Orion to Earth loops that we provide for you and have been since the beginning of our coverage with launch back on April 1st. Here in Mission Control, the focus of attention is the upcoming Return Trajectory Correction 3 burn. That's coming up less than 13 minutes from now. We're a couple of minutes out from maneuvering to that orientation.
Copy that. All is calm on board, Jackie. Thank you.
This is Mission Control Houston. While we wait for the burn, this view from the deck of the USS John P. Murtha showing some of the armada of helicopters. There will be Navy helicopters hovering over Integrity following splashdown, 2 of them to be employed in the hoisting of the crew members off of the front porch raft that will be erected alongside the vehicle following splashdown. 2 crew members, 2 astronauts for each of the 2 helicopters for the short ride back to the deck of the Murtha, where they will be brought into the medical bay for comprehensive post-flight medical exams. We'll have a lot more from the ship once we begin our NASA Plus coverage that will be simulcast with our continuing YouTube 24/7 coverage, the NASA Plus coverage beginning at 5:30 p.m. Central, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Continuing with the view of the crew in the cabin of Integrity, as we are almost 7 minutes away now from the return trajectory correction number 3 burn. Integrity systems are functioning in excellent shape. The weather at the splashdown zone out in the Pacific is go and is forecast to be go. We are committed, of course, to a splashdown, that return trajectory that will enable Integrity's astronauts to splash down at 7:07 p.m. Central tonight. That was guaranteed with the translunar injection burn back on April 2nd that took the vehicle and its 4 crew members out of low Earth orbit following a 24-hour period of a high Earth orbit elliptical trajectory. At the low point of that trajectory, which was some 43,000 by 0 miles, at the low point, that's when Integrity's engine fired, the service module engine fired to break out of our Earth orbit and send humans en route to the moon for the first time since December of 1972. It also guaranteed what was known as a free return trajectory that the laws of orbital mechanics dictated would carry Integrity on a loop around the moon and its historic lunar flyby the other day, and then on the trip back to Earth, which will culminate with a splashdown this evening, 5 hours and 19 minutes from now. As you can see, the maneuver to the burn attitude has induced quite a bit of sunlight coming into the crew cabin. We're now under 5 minutes until the burn.
Integrity Orion is in burn attitude.
And it is an unbelievably spectacular view. Thanks, Jackie.
Reed Wiseman responding to Capcom Jackie Mahaffey, that attitude into the burn orientation for the return trajectory correction burn coming up in just under 4 minutes has offered the crew yet another spectacular view of the Earth growing larger in their windows.
Integrity Houston in 22.3 critical Q card. We're looking for the BFS burn ATP to no go. To go, excuse me. To go.
Dispatch, Jackie, we are BFS burn ATP go, and we do not need to command the no-go on this because we're SM plus X.
Good words. Sorry about the confusion, and we see a good config.
Coming up on 1 minute till the burn. Mark, 1 minute. This is an 8-second burn with a change in velocity of 4.2 feet per second. Ten seconds. Burn underway. Good engine, good control. Burn complete.
Integrity looks like a good RTC-3 burn, and we are assessing details.
Hey, Jackie, we see the same on board, and we just wanted to give a huge shout-out to that ESA Airbus team, to our friends in the Netherlands and Germany and at the Glenn Research Center. This vehicle powered us, and it propelled us from the Earth to the Moon and back with extreme precision, and we are excited to be a part of your team.
Houston and centers around the world, copy. Thank you.
Commander Reed Wiseman with a shout out.
Jackie, we are ready to reconfigure our F7 SIP switches for entry, if you can give us that go.
You are go for F7 switches.
Reed Wiseman providing a shout out to the European engineering community,
Copy the go.
which built the European service module.
And you are now maneuvering back to biased tail to sun attitude.
We see it.
That European service module will separate from the crew module this evening at 6:33 p.m. shortly after we hand over communications from the Deep Space Network to the Tracking and Data Relay satellite system, and about 4 minutes before the crew module will use its thrusters in a 19-second raise burn to lift the aft end of the vehicle into the final angle of attack for entrance into the Earth's atmosphere and the mitigation of excessive heat loads on the heat shield of integrity. So, with the final major burn having been successfully completed, the crew is now preparing to complete the configuration of the crew cabin, a final stowage capability, and an opportunity to put other items away that they will not need during the entry phase. They'll move into their entry checklist about 2 hours from now at about 4 p.m. Central Time. Events will start to accelerate in terms of time as we approach the point at which entry interface will begin.
We're going to need a copy of that photo when you guys get back. Copy them. Integrity. FIDO confirmed that was a great RTC-3.
Outstanding. Thanks, Fido. And a second thanks to the team. That's awesome.
Integrity. Prop post-burn reconfig is complete. And if you were hanging out in step 23.4, you can skip it. We are in a good config.
And Jackie, we were talking about seats. I'm in instruction 337 of 392, and then can you repeat that call?
Yep, the prop post-burn reconfig is complete, and there is no need for the remainder of 23.4. You can consider that closed out.
Remainder of 23.4, closed out, copy. And Jackie, just confirm, I know you said the rest of 23.4. I'm not looking at this in steps, just instructions. Confirm that's the BFS configured for the burn subsequent steps as well.
Affirm, all the way through instruction 347 can be skipped.
Okay, I see that takes us to step 24. I did not do any of the remaining steps in step 23, and that is over to you, MCC. We're moving back to cabin config.
Houston copies and concurs. And Victor and the rest of the Integrity crew, the only DPC-related topic we had for you this morning was to sync up on cabin config and get a status of where you are in the procedure.
Okay, Jackie, we're with you on that. We are complete through step 7. Actually, step 8 now is complete as well. And step 15 is complete. And we'll update you on the rest as we go along.
We copy all.
This is Mission Control, Houston. 8 days, 20 hours, 33 minutes into the flight of Integrity on the Artemis II mission. We are under 5 hours now from the splashdown of Integrity in the Pacific off the coast of San Diego to wrap up this lunar flyby mission. Integrity systems are in excellent shape. The recovery team on the USS Mertha out in the Pacific is at the ready. The ship is basically parked in the right position to be able to expedite a recovery of the crew following splashdown and after the vehicle has been powered down. Navy helicopters, divers, other recovery personnel will move alongside the capsule to set up a large inflatable raft called a front porch that will be used to extract the crew members in one by one after the hatch is opened. That process of extracting the crew is timelined at least and has been practiced to occur some 45 minutes to an hour after splashdown. The weather conditions out in the Pacific are ideal for today's splashdown. We're talking winds just 10 knots and wave heights less than 4 feet. You couldn't ask for better weather for this homecoming for Integrity, the first time that a crew will have splashed down in the vehicle in the Artemis program. We completed the final major maneuver of the mission using the European Service Module's thrusters a short time ago. That was the return trajectory correction number 3 burn that basically fine-tuned ever so slightly the trajectory and the path of Integrity and sweetened the angle of attack so that we hit the right corridor coming in over the Pacific Ocean with onboard computers honed in on the splashdown zone some 1,701 nautical miles downrange from the start of entry interface. Splashdown is scheduled at 7:07 and 7 seconds p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time, 2.5 hours before sunset at the splashdown site. This is Mission Control Houston at a mission elapsed time of 8 days, 20 hours, 39 minutes into the flight of Integrity on the Artemis II mission. There is our planet growing larger in the field of view with each passing minute. We are currently 34,900 nautical miles from Earth and beginning to accelerate toward a splashdown in the Pacific for this four-person crew 4 hours and 52 minutes from now. Everything on board Integrity is in great shape. All the systems are functioning perfectly. The crew is in the process of wrapping up their cabin configuration, stowing final items that they no longer need for the remainder of their journey. They will also move into an entry checklist in about an hour and 45 minutes, reviewing entry procedures and the latest uplink messages to them before we begin the process of getting the crew suited up prior to the crew module, service module separation. All is well aboard Integrity, and the weather is go for splashdown. The USS John P. Murtha is in place in the recovery zone, ready to begin deploying its assets for imagery as well as for the recovery operations themselves.
Integrity Houston, for the TLT unconverged caution, we were running orb guide post-burn to look at post-burn targeting, and that particular sequence did not include running TLT. That is what triggered the caution. We have no concerns.
Okay, outstanding. Thank you.
That call from Capcom Jackie Mahaffey to the crew, indicating TLT, which is a targeted landing trajectory. That is simply a value that was placed on board on the onboard computers, but is not being used for today's entry by the crew. The last maneuver that will be conducted by Integrity will occur at 6:37 p.m. Central Time tonight. That is the crew module raise burn. That occurs about 4 minutes after the crew module will have separated from the service module. This will be about a 19-second burn with a velocity change of about 9.9 feet per second as the precursor to entry interface. The raise burn designed as a final opportunity to sweeten the flight path angle, the angle of attack, if you will, of the vehicle as it enters the Earth's atmosphere, placing the vehicle in the proper orientation perfectly with precision to mitigate any excessive heat loads on the heat shield of the spacecraft. Entry interface will begin at 6:53 and 31 seconds p.m. Central Time at an altitude of 400,000 feet, while Integrity is traveling 34,882 feet per second with a range to splashdown of 1,701 nautical miles. Within 24 seconds after entry interface, which is essentially the top of the Earth's atmosphere where the crew will begin to feel the tug of gravity, we'll start a 6-minute blackout period, that is expected, in which we'll lose communications with the crew and data here in the flight control room. The blackout is induced by the buildup of ionization from the interaction of the velocity of the vehicle with the friction of Earth's atmosphere. It creates a plasma shield around the vehicle, preventing communications from occurring. That 6-minute blackout is scheduled to end right around 7 p.m. straight up. And at that point, the vehicle will have descended to an altitude of 157,000 feet above the Earth, traveling at 13,300 feet per second.
Houston Integrity, could you go off board on the cameras for a couple, please?
In work. And Integrity, Cab 3 is not streaming.
Thank you, Jackie. Houston integrity, step 9 is complete. The seats are configured.
Houston, copy seats.
This is Mission Control Houston at a mission elapsed time of 8 days, 21 hours, 5 minutes into the flight of Integrity on the Artemis II mission. Several countdown clocks are ticking backward here in the flight control room as the Earth grows larger and larger in the field of view. In order, the next major milestone will be a raise burn of the crew module. That raise burn will follow the separation of the crew module from the service module this evening. The separation of the crew module is scheduled at 6:33 p.m. Central Time. 4 minutes later, at 6:37 p.m. Central Time, we'll conduct about a 19-second raise burn. This is a slight maneuver to tilt up the aft end of Integrity in a final opportunity to fine-tune the angle of attack that Integrity will incur as it enters the Earth's atmosphere over the Pacific Ocean. The entry path for Integrity today is portrayed here in this graphic. Basically, entry interface is 1,701 nautical miles uprange, if you will, from the expected splashdown point near the USS John Murtha, the recovery ship, and off the coast of San Diego. The entry interface point is critical because what we want to do is put Integrity in an orientation that will mitigate peak heating on the heat shield. For a point of comparison, during Artemis I, we had an entry range of 3,178 nautical miles from the point of entry interface and a 20-minute entry profile. That was the so-called skip entry, in which the Artemis I vehicle dipped into the atmosphere to dissipate some energy, then lofted or skipped out of the atmosphere, then dipped a second and final time back into the atmosphere before splashing down. What that resulted in was a higher heat load on the heat shield, which caused unexpected char liberation. So rather than design the heat shield or replace it for Artemis II, we elected to go into a different trajectory profile. This one with a max entry range of 1,775 nautical miles, or in today's case, all of our maneuvers and orbital mechanics will take us 1,701 nautical miles downrange from the point of entry interface. This will only be a 13.5-minute entry profile for Integrity and its astronauts, and results in a much lower heat load on the heat shield. This is deliberate so that we have the lessening effect of charring on the heat shield, should there be any at all, and we do expect some. But this will more than protect the astronauts from the effects of peak heating, which will be some 4,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit during the maximum peak heating around the vehicle. That will also cause a 6-minute blackout because of ionization, as heat is repelled or thwarted from the heat shield while the vehicle flies in the direction of travel towards splashdown. The raise burn that places us in our final orientation for angle of attack into entry interface, that raise burn is scheduled at 6:37 p.m. Central Time. Entry interface itself is scheduled at 6:53 and 31 seconds p.m. Central Time, when we hit the top of the Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet, traveling about 34,800 feet per second. We expect our peak velocity just a few moments later, and that peak velocity is forecast by flight dynamics to be 34,965 feet per second, or 23,839 miles an hour. Now, this all occurs after we begin the blackout period of 6 minutes. We will lose communications with the vehicle just 24 seconds after we enter the Earth's atmosphere or entry interface, as you see there. This is an expected 6-minute blackout that will begin at 6:53 and 55 seconds p.m. Central Time and will last almost until 7 p.m. straight up Central Time. Once we regain communications with the crew following the blackout, we will continue a series of roll reversals. These are gentle rolls to the left and back to the right, essentially bleeding off excess energy and excess heat on the vehicle as we approach the splashdown site. The vehicle is expected to go subsonic at 7:02 and 25 seconds p.m. Central Time. That's about 8.5 or almost 9 minutes after the beginning of entry interface. And at that point, we will be at an altitude of 59,000 feet above the Pacific Ocean. A series of parachute deployments will begin. The first of that will be the forward bay cover parachutes that will basically pull the top forward bay cover off the very top of the vehicle, allowing other parachute deployment activities to occur. The forward bay cover chute deployment is scheduled at 7:03 and 22 seconds p.m. Central Time at an altitude of 23,946 feet. The forward bay cover parachutes are used in conjunction with pyrotechnic thrusters to ensure the separation of that forward bay cover, protecting Orion and its parachutes during the heat of reentry. Following that, there'll be the deployment of drogue chutes. These are 2 drogue parachutes, 23 feet in diameter. These drogue chutes will be deployed at an altitude of 23,483 feet. At this point, our velocity will have slowed from almost 24,000 feet per second to just 470 feet per second in a matter of minutes. 3 pilot parachutes will be used to lift and deploy the main parachutes from the crew module forward bay. Those main parachutes, 3 of them, are used to slow the crew module down to a splashdown at a speed that ensures astronaut safety. Each main parachute 265 feet in length from the crew module attachment to the top when inflated. The main chute deployment is scheduled at 7:04 and 44 seconds p.m. Central Time. Now that's just 11 minutes and 13 seconds after the start of entry interface. At this point, we'll be at an altitude of 5,445 feet above the Pacific. And splashdown to complete this mission is scheduled at 7:07 and 7 seconds p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time, 2.5 hours before sunset. The crew will splash down in the Pacific southwest of San Diego at a gentle rate of just 19 miles an hour. Following splashdown, the flight control team here in Houston is not done. Our work is just beginning at that point as we begin the process of powering down the vehicle. This is after we have established communications with the crew through a very low data rate system. The communications link will no longer be active through the tracking and data relay satellite system, so we're going to be going to a very low data rate system. We hope to establish communications with the crew fairly rapidly. That's not guaranteed. It depends on the orientation of the vehicle. The likelihood is the vehicle will splash down upright in what's known as stable 1. Whether it's upright or in some other orientation, we'll begin the process of inflating 5 inflatable airbags that are positioned in a circumferential manner around the forward bay cover at the top of integrity. These airbags will be inflated through helium. Those 5 airbags will guarantee the proper orientation upright for the spacecraft through the rest of the process of extracting the crew, which should take some 45 minutes to an hour to complete. Navy divers, fast boats, pair of Navy helicopters, other recovery personnel will come alongside the vehicle to begin erecting an inflatable raft called the front porch that the crew will be extracted into. You've seen that in movies. You've seen it in the Apollo program and archival footage. And one by one, the crew will be hoisted in alternating fashion to 2 hovering Navy helicopters for the trip back to the deck of the USS John Murtha, where they will leave the helicopters and move into medical bay on the ship for comprehensive medical examinations. As the astronauts aboard Integrity are in the process of stowing final items in the cabin before they move into their entry checklists, a final review of the procedures and the timelined activities for the rest of this mission. The next major milestone, once again, will be the separation of the European Service Module, which has performed valiantly throughout the course of this flight, from the crew module. That pyrotechnic separation scheduled 3 hours and 41 minutes from now. Just 3.5 minutes after that will be the crew module raise burn. That raise burn is scheduled at 6:37 p.m. Central Time. It's expected to be about a 19-second firing of the crew module thrusters in one final opportunity to fine-tune the angle of attack for Integrity as it enters the Earth's atmosphere. Splashdown 4 hours, 14 minutes from now, southwest of San Diego, where the weather is forecast to be ideal. Just some broken and scattered clouds expected, 10-knot winds, wave heights less than 4 feet. You couldn't ask for a better day out in the Pacific for the homecoming of the first crew to fly aboard the Orion spacecraft. At a mission elapsed time of 8 days, 21 hours, 18 minutes into the flight, this is Mission Control Houston.
Houston Integrity, Jackie, steps 10 and 11 are complete.
Houston copies steps 10 and 11. You guys are on track, looking great.
For those just joining this view of the key players here in Mission Control, part of the flight control team, Rick Henfling, second from the right, is the lead is the entry flight director for this mission. Seated to his left is Judd Freeling, who was the flight director for Ascent back on April 1st. Jackie Mahaffey is second from the left. She is the Capcom whose voice you'll be hearing throughout the course of the afternoon and evening, talking directly to Integrity's astronauts through splashdown. Stan Love, a veteran astronaut, is on the far left of your screen. He was the Ascent Capcom. He's joining Mahaffey today as a second set of eyes on all the data that we'll be discussing and hearing from the crew during the course of their high-speed entry back into the Earth's atmosphere. And this is Mission Control Houston. You can see one of the helicopters that will be involved in the recovery operations, having taken off from the deck of the USS John P. Murtha. Recovery operations underway. Several helicopters will be employed not just for recovery but for imagery activities. On the deck of the John P. Murtha, a view of multiple views, camera views, that are being provided to us courtesy of the USS John P. Murtha that we'll be utilizing throughout the course of the evening in our coverage. Once we start the NASA Plus coverage at 5:30 p.m. Central Time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, that's a simulcast of our 24/7 YouTube coverage. My colleague from the Kennedy Space Center, Megan Cruz, is on the Murtha, and she'll be providing updates and interviews as well as we continue our operational coverage of the recovery of the Integrity astronauts following their lunar flyby mission.
Houston, integrity for toilet configure for return.
Go ahead.
We have an empty canister. Can you confirm that I don't need to do steps 1.2 to 1.4?
Checking. And Christina, we concur you do not need to perform the steps you listed.
Thanks, Jackie.
This is Mission Control Houston, 8 days, 21 hours, 38 minutes into the flight of Integrity on the Artemis II mission. On board, all is quiet, as it is here in Mission Control, with everything moving along in trip hammer fashion, in good shape, all of Integrity's systems in great shape, and the weather at the splashdown zone off the coast of San Diego couldn't be better. A forecast of go conditions with winds of just 10 knots, wave heights less than 4 feet, ideal conditions for the recovery of Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen following their splashdown, which is just 3 hours and 53 minutes from now. The next major milestone coming up in 3 hours and 19 minutes, that will be the separation of the crew module from the European service module that has performed perfectly during the course of the flight. The service module separation from the crew module scheduled at 6:33 p.m. Central Time. Just 4 minutes later, there will be a slight maneuver, a raise burn as it is called. This will tilt the aft end of the crew module upward ever so slightly in one final opportunity to refine the flight path angle, the angle of attack, if you will, as Integrity enters the Earth's atmosphere at the point called entry interface. That is at 6:53 and 31 seconds p.m. Central Time, or some 16 minutes after the raise burn itself. All of these events will be happening fairly rapidly as we move over the next few hours toward a splashdown of the crew and a completion of a mission that will have totaled 694,481 miles from launch to splashdown.
Houston integrity for timeline.
Christina, we're with you.
Hey, Jackie. You guys okay if we start entry checklist 30 minutes early?
Checking. And Integrity Houston for entry checklist. We are ready for you to begin 18.0.1 entry checklist, steps 1 through 6.
Copy. We're go entry checklist 1 through 6. Thanks.
And step 3 for GPS can be skipped. GPS has been powered and it still looks good.
Copy. Step 3 is a skip.
This is Mission Control Houston at a mission elapsed time of 8 days, 21 hours, 50 minutes into the flight of Integrity on the Artemis II mission. The crew is completing the configuration of the crew cabin. Soon they'll be breaking out their launch and entry suits in preparation for donning those suits and conducting leak checks as we get a bit further along in the entry preparation time frame. Meanwhile, we're looking forward to the next major milestone. That will be the separation of the crew module from the European service module 3 hours and 7 minutes from now. That's scheduled to occur at 6:33 p.m. Central Time, 7:33 p.m. Eastern Time. 4 minutes after that, we'll conduct a raise burn. This will be about a 19-second firing of Integrity's thrusters with a change in velocity of 9.9 feet per second. That will adjust the angle of attack of the vehicle by gently tipping the aft end of Integrity higher, if you will, like sitting in a reclining chair and basically leaning back a bit. This angle of attack adjustment is specifically designed and pre-planned to enter the Earth's atmosphere at entry interface later this evening at the proper angle to minimize heating effects on Integrity's heat shield. It's worth mentioning once again that the difference between this entry and the uncrewed entry of Artemis I is that on Artemis I, we flew a trajectory known as a skip entry, which involved an initial dip into the atmosphere to dissipate some energy, and then we lofted back out of the atmosphere briefly, then dipped back in a second time before splashing down in the Pacific. After the flight, the post-flight inspection and video analysis showed that there was an area of mechanical char liberation that was not expected. And so after extensive analysis and the review of an independent review team, it was determined to adjust the entry profile for Artemis II, minimizing the range of entry from 3,178 nautical miles to a distance of just 1,775 nautical miles across the Pacific. So instead of 20 minutes of exposure to heating effects, today we're going to only encounter 13.5 minutes of heat loads on the vehicle. Our intended splashdown target is about 1,701 nautical miles downrange from the point of entry interface. It will be about 13.5 minutes from the time that we enter the Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet at 6:53 and 31 seconds p.m. Central Time to the point of splashdown at 7:07 and 7 seconds p.m. Central Time. In that brief 13.5 minute period, peak heating on the vehicle should be about 4,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat to be repelled by Integrity's heat shield, as it is for any vehicle entering the Earth's atmosphere that has a crew on board. The crew should be experiencing a G load on their bodies of about 3.9 Gs at peak loads on the crew members, feeling the tug of Earth's gravity for the first time in 9 days. We will decelerate from a speed of 23,839 miles an hour just after we begin the blackout period of 6 minutes in duration to a splashdown velocity of just 19 miles an hour, all that happening in rapid-fire succession. Splashdown now 3 hours and 36 minutes from now, 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. The USS John P. Murtha is on station. Some of the airborne assets, helicopters, and fixed-wing aircraft are taking off in sequential fashion from the deck of the ship These are imagery assets, the actual Navy recovery helicopters that will hoist the crew out of the front porch, inflatable raft that will be erected alongside the hatchway to Integrity. And there's a view, a live view from the deck of the USS John P. Murtha. It is a bit overcast. We do expect those clouds to lift a bit over the next few hours. We should have some broken and scattered clouds. It won't be crystal clear blue skies out there in the Pacific, but the weather is go and forecast to be go by the Spaceflight Meteorology Group. The Navy helicopters will be hovering over the spacecraft once it is powered down and once it is guaranteed to be uprighted through the inflation of the 5 crew module uprighting system airbags that will take place shortly after splashdown. The Navy divers and a Navy flight surgeon will pull alongside the spacecraft to begin the process of erecting the front porch. Then they will open up the hatch and begin to extract the crew members one by one. They'll have an opportunity to get their land legs back a bit before they're hoisted one by one in harnesses up inside the 2 awaiting helicopters. They'll be hoisted up in alternating fashion. So there'll be two crew members for each helicopter for the short ride back to the Murtha. Once they arrive on the deck of the ship, they'll be brought into medical bay for comprehensive medical exams. That is all part of the post-flight medical evaluation of these crew members as they complete their mission around the moon and back to Earth.
Integrity Houston for entry checklist.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Hey, Reed, a couple of questions for you. We realized we didn't give you an explicit thumbs up to perform step 1.2 for the flight path angle. hash mark update, so we wanted to confirm that you did, in fact, perform the set EI FPA limits procedure. And secondly, we want your opinion on the in and out CMIS caution. Is that something that will be distracting such that we should inhibit it?
Okay, we are going to go execute 1.2. We had skipped that, and we would prefer to inhibit the CMIS caution on board.
Okay, we copy, and just to close the loop on that, that will mean on flight.landing you would not have a yellow or down arrow indication if that does stay below the threshold.
And that is totally fine.
Houston, integrity for toilet deactivation.
Integrity, Jackie had to step off for a second. Go ahead for toilet.
Yes, sir. Hey, Stan. Great to hear your voice. We are ready for MCC to deactivate the toilet.
Houston copies. Putting that in work.
This is Mission Control Houston. That communication from Christina Cook on board Integrity to spacecraft communicator Stan Love.
Integrity for burn telemetry on CM raise burn. 2 questions.
Go for CM raise questions.
Hey, Jackie, we see a Delta V tote on our display of 9.9, which is fairly close to the 8.5 on the entry pad, but our TGO on the display is 44 seconds, and the entry pad estimated 19 seconds. Can you all take a look at that for us?
Hey, Reed, good catch. The explanation there is that Delta V is about what we expect update-wise, but the TGO calculation is not understanding that you will not have the SM when you burn CM raised. So it's doing a different mass calculation there.
I remember that class in November of 2023 in Building 5 on the 3rd floor. Thank you very much.
This is Mission Control Houston. Commander Reed Wiseman inquiring about the values for the upcoming crew module raise burn. Again, as we've explained, this burn that's scheduled 2 hours and 51 minutes from now is designed to tilt the angle of attack a bit upward, basically raising the aft end of the vehicle prior to entry interface to improve the angle of attack and minimize heating effects on the heat shield for the Orion vehicle. The crew module raise burn will occur about 4 minutes after the service module is separated from the crew module, and we're expecting about a 19-second burn.
Integrity, Houston, the toilet is unpowered.
Christina Rogers, thank you.
The crew module raise burn is expected to be 19 seconds in duration, with a change in velocity of about 9.9 feet per second. Once again, that's designed to fine-tune the angle of attack for Integrity as it enters the Earth's atmosphere, which will occur about 16.5 minutes after the raise burn itself. And as you heard, spacecraft communicator Jackie Mahaffey relaying that we have sent commands to turn off the ship's potty, so it is no longer to be used for the remainder of the mission, with splashdown scheduled 3 hours and 19 minutes from now. The 4 crew members on board Integrity, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen, are in the process of completing the stowage of items in the crew cabin before they move into their entry checklist, basically looking through all of the chronological procedures that lie ahead for the rapid-fire succession of all of the events that will unfold over the course of the next 3 hours. Integrity is about 25,000 nautical miles from Earth. continuing to accelerate towards a splashdown in the Pacific 3 hours and 18 minutes from now. All of Integrity's systems are in excellent shape. The crew is great, feeling well, and the weather in the splashdown zone in the Pacific, although a bit cloudy with broken and scattered clouds, is a go forecast with just 10-knot winds and wave heights less than 4 feet. Views from
Integrity Houston for a post-RTC3 tracking update.
Go ahead, Houston.
Hey, the post-RTC3 tracking looks great. So good, in fact, that if we got to CM rays and did not yet have GPS acquisition, we would still be go for CM rays from that perspective. And so overall, I can confirm the post-RTC3 trajectory is within EI limits.
All right, Jackie, we love that. That says a lot about our FIDO folks in this vehicle.
This is Mission Control Houston. A tip of the hat from Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen to the flight dynamics folks and the guidance, navigation, and control officer. The RTC-3 burn that was conducted just over 2 hours ago, which was basically a final fine-tuning of the trajectory of integrity to hit the sweet spot in the corridor over the Pacific Ocean for entry interface, was so perfect that we are dead on the center line down the corridor. And the crew module raise burn that is scheduled at 6:37 p.m. Central Time and which will be conducted is only required to lift the aft end of the vehicle ever so slightly by a degree or two to improve the angle of attack of the spacecraft as it enters the atmosphere, mitigating peak heating effects on the heat shield for integrity. But our trajectory is dead set, right on the money, right down the pike, heading for a splashdown 3 hours and 10 minutes from now at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time.
Houston integrity com check from seat 1.
Seat 1, have you loud and clear coming down on both OE 1 and 2? How me on 1?
Got you loud and clear on 1, Jackie. We're going to stay in this config on both 1 and 2, and Reed and Victor are in our seats, slowly proceeding along.
Okay, we copy, and just to confirm, that means that you've got the bulk of your suits donned, is that correct?
Just for Reed and Victor, A-firm. We're not gloved, not helmeted yet.
Copy all. Thanks. Integrity BFS is configured for entry with outputs inhibited. And a reminder, when you get to step 9.3, use your separate instance of 18.3.101 to save off the time.
100%. Thanks.
Houston integrity com check from C2.
Victor, have you loud and clear? I'm coming up on 1. How me?
Jackie, I have you loud and clear on 1.
You are loud and clear on 2, Jackie.